Chaos. Chaos was inevitable. The signs aligned themselves as an ill omen. Havoc is upon the lands, and history will be written with the blood of the vanquished. For as the stars bejewel the darkening sky, evil, lurking in obscurity, is twisting and corrupting souls. The gods themselves watch silently as the disciples prepare their minions for the tasks ahead. Chaos has begun anew. 4 realms will wage war, sealing the fate of their race and ensuring the existence of their gods. Bethrazan, Prince of Darkness, Monarch of the Legions of the Damned. Wotan, Guardian of the Sacred Forge and God of the Mountain Clans. Mortis, Creator of Plague and Pestilence, Master of the Undead Hordes. The High Father, God of Light, Grand Protector of the Empire. Cowards should not venture out in the dark ages to come, as many will die and blood will flow relentlessly upon the battlefields. For it is the victor in battle who writes history. Few humans would live to relate the dreadful events that shattered the Empire. Unable to withstand the invasion of the Legions of the Damned, the humans withdrew to the east. The false rumor about the king's death served well an ambitious noble named Bernard of Cahuzac. He assembled a small force and captured an important city named Andros. The last standing humans knew that their salvation resided in the capture of the city. It stood as a fortress between the Empire and the Legions of the Damned.
My services are required for the Empire! Ow! Ow!
After executing the renegade aristocrat, the humans strengthened their northern frontier in provision of a fierce, unholy counterattack. The legions of the Damned's counterattack never came. Assistance came in an unexpected manner. Disturbing revelations gave hope to the Empire. An unnatural force manifested itself and pushed back the legions of the damned. By unknown means, the deceased rose again and struggled against the heretic legions. The non-living were battling fiercely, tearing themselves apart in an abominable dance, and the once thriving kingdom had fallen into chaos. Their scouts informed them that the undead hordes were searching the land for an ancient scepter. The scepter was said to be in the possession of a powerful human sorcerer. As the sorcerer learned to wield the scepter, his power grew. Undead hordes stood between the Empire and the legions of the damned. The exhausted troops of the Empire were left to accomplish their task, as destruction of the evil scepter was imperative.
My services are required.
The scepter was destroyed with no other form of ceremony than being crushed under a soldier's foot. Most of the undead creatures fell lifelessly upon the land, and what was left of the cursed army was hunted down by the Empire's forces. During the Empire's battle against the undead hordes, the legions of the damned abducted the Queen and Uther, the heir to the Empire's throne. Rumors about the rebirth of Bethrazen startled the humans, and no efforts would be spared to retrieve the bewitched queen, fearing the use of the infant as a receptacle for the unholy one. While pursuing the ravisher, an imperial knight slew the fiend in the mountains, but the queen fell into a precipice with her royal child, not to be seen again. The day after, rangers found her captive in a mountain clan city. For unknown reasons, the mountain clan did not want to return the queen nor the infant, and the Empire would have to capture the fortress where she was imprisoned.
My services are required for the Empire!
The humans arrived too late to free the queen. The soldiers slew her by mistake, for a succubus had taken over her soul and transformed her into a demon. The infant was nowhere to be found. The Imperial scouts found the legions of the Damned's lair, and the campaign for retribution was organized promptly. For the fire that burnt in the king's eyes was dreadful. All knew that the king's anger would be appeased only by the eradication of all the devils roaming in the land. The sages told the king that the legions of the damned drain the earth for their infernal powers as human sorcerers do. They would be banned forever if the land was blooming with life.
My lord?
The Empire's agony ceased with the destruction of the Legion of the Damned's last bastion. The Empire's efforts were rewarded as their exhausted forces arrived in time to hinder the unholy ritual long prepared by the Legions of the Damned. When Imperial troops found the pagan sanctuary, the holy priests accomplished a ritual to seal the unholy gate and to complete the High Father's work that had begun 6 millennia ago. The once prosperous realm ablaze, the humans have but begun a long journey to rebuild their ravished empire. Tales about these epic battles and the disappearance of their royal heir would never be forgotten by bards long after these dreadful events. The Alkmaar inhabited the arid regions south of the realm, and their civilization prospered for many centuries. Highly spiritual, they preserved the remains of their dead ancestors, consulting them for important decisions, even eating in their company. Then Mortis intervened, slaughtering the entire civilization with her venomous breath, killing thousands in days with a virulent plague, striking mercilessly upon youth and elder alike. Although dead, the carcasses did not rest, eluding their dark fate. The undead hordes wandered about the land of the living, eager to execute the evil bidding of their infamous goddess. Mortis finally possessed the means to avenge her husband, slaughtered by the hands of Wotan, god of the mountain clans. Her first command was to liberate the only passage through the mountains to free the hordes. To achieve this, the keeper of the passage had to be destroyed.
Yes! March!
The Alkmaar's macabre customs could have been the reason for Mortis's deadly embrace. Or perhaps they were the only beings able to avenge her. They accomplished their task utterly and without pity. During the birth of the undead hordes, the magical scepter of the Alkmaar priest king had been stolen. The scepter fell into the hands of a human sorcerer, and he had been calling upon its powers to summon creatures from beyond. The magic of the scepter would give the undead sufficient power to confront the mountain clans. The wicked goddess sent her minions to capture the tower in which the sorcerer was carrying out his evil deeds.
You will feel my power.
The sorcerer killed and the scepter retrieved, the undead hordes departed for their next task, to unearth the lair of the Dwarven High King. As a last resort, the mountain clans concluded an alliance with the Empire to crush the undead. Their combined forces were to be the fiercest army yet encountered by the hordes. As Mortis sent her followers to spread death across the lands, the forces of light sent forth an army to crush them.
You will feel my power.
As you wish.
No one escapes death. As the inert corpses of the Horde's enemies lay on the ground, the air darkened with the passage of Mortis's venomous breath. The Alliance had been crushed. After several days, the lair of the dwarven king Sturmir had been found by scouts of the undead. He sheltered himself in his impregnable mountain fortress, south of Ethral's mines. Mortis was almost avenged, and her undead hordes ventured to accomplish the nearly impossible task of destroying the mountain clan's century-old monarch in his fortified keep.
Yes! March!
Retreating to the royal chamber, the High King Sturmir was at the mercy of the undead hordes. The time for retribution had finally arrived, and the shadow of Mortis darkened the sky as the defunct minions destroyed the High King's personal guard and reached the throne room. The death of Sturmir Thunderhammer was prompt. Slaughtered by undead claws, his lifeless body lay asunder beside his royal throne. In the realm, his death would be but a souvenir of a race defeated by the undead hordes. The vengeance of Mortis was finally complete. Few know of the history of the mountain clans. Living on a high mountain range at the edge of the world, they prospered, unaffected by the events of afar. When Lawmaster Memna's revelations, unveiled to him by Brunhild the Valkyrie in a dream, were brought to the High Council, there could be no doubt Ragnarok was at hand. The vision of the seeress, an Eddic poem, had foretold it many centuries before. Too content of their relative peace, the clans forgot the warnings of the impending doom and the means to protect themselves in the process. Only the ruins could prevent the upcoming tragedy, but their ancient ruined wisdom withered away with the passing of the centuries. In a war council, a decision to launch an expedition to seek the advice from the Well of Fate was taken. But as the council discussed who would be charged with the task, the roaring sound of a horn blasted. Enemies were approaching. The realm was under attack. The forces of the damned, led by the fire giant Surta, attacked the clans. Before an expedition could be sent, the land had to be secured.
Of course.
Aye.
By the nose. It was foretold!
The initial tide of evil had been stopped, but destiny could not be eluded. The unstoppable process had begun. Soon the world would be aflame, and the only thing that the clans could do would be to seek help from their gods. A small band of dwarven heroes were given the arduous task of seeking the advice from the Well of Fate, guarded by the Norns. A lawmaster apprised them that its enchanted Euro liquid metal would tell them the means to protect their clan. He told them that the Well of Fate was guarded in a city far northwest of Timurik, isolated in the Northern Sea. The city would have to be taken by force.
By the nose! Leave the leader to me!
The few that sought advice of the Well of Fate finally found it, but their quest was not yet finished. For the second verse of the seeress poem realized itself. The High King Sturmire had been killed. To the questioning of the party, the Well of Fate answered. In the hands of Healer will you find your sanctuary, sons of Wotan. In the realms of the dead, Niflheim, the runes of wisdom you will seek to spare your kingdom. Fenris, the guardian, must be defeated to pass through the gate. Do not waste time, as at this moment Healer's horde is seeking to seal its entrance.
By the nose!
The primordial beast lay dead on the ground, its evil blood gushing out from his wounds. Behind it, the gates of Niflheim were firmly closed, runic carvings inscribed on them, warning of the danger they protect. The clans had established their camp beyond the Doti Lake. Ahead lay the realms of Hela, known as Niflheim, the Dark Dwelling, the abode of the dead. The odds were against them, but to balance the fate decided by the Norns, Wotan sent to their aid 4 of the bravest dwarven heroes who had died honorably in the midst of battle. The runes of wisdom awaited them, guarded by the Black Mistress herself in her ruined tower. The clans knew that she would not impart freely of her ancient knowledge, and the tower would have to be taken by force.
Yes! Leave the leader to me!
With the malevolent dark mistress healer fatally wounded, the dwarves proceeded through the fetid stench of the tower's subterraneous maze, until they reached the sacred chamber where the ruined knowledge had been confined for centuries. The mountain clans had finally completed their quest. With the runes of wisdom back in their hands, the mountain clans would now be able to withstand the fury of the Ragnarok. But the telling of this battle is for another time. Witness of the creation of the world, Bethresen intends to await its downfall. Bethresen, Prince of Hell, was the most beautiful of all angels. His great beauty naturally made him the favorite of the High Father, who granted him the power to create all things. When he, to thank the High Father of his divine gift, created a magnificent world, jealous and malevolent angels corrupted the inhabitants and transformed it into chaos. The High Father, furious at the sight of such blasphemy, imprisoned the Unholy One in his vile world. 6,000 years of torment had Bethresen endured, awaiting vengeance. Alas, the divine curse flickered, splitting its shell and releasing the unholy spawn into the world of humans. For their grip to be complete, the legions of the damned had to spread destruction across the land. Their kind would not survive long without their infernal element to sustain them. As such, they sent their baronesses to ruthlessly scorch the lands, incinerating the flesh of all the inhabitants.
Sanctuara de Mayor Exio.
What do you want?
As the scent of burnt flesh and sulfur swept throughout the blazing lands, the infernal rift miraculously sealed itself. This did not concern the legions of the damned, since numerous cohorts had already released themselves to accomplish the infernal rite ahead. The legions of the damned's only will was to break the conjuration summoned upon Bethresen. To do so, an unholy rite had to be performed. The first element necessary to accomplish the ritual was a dagger forged of Euro metal. The Euro metal was guarded in a city on an isolated island in the Northern Sea. The city would have to be assailed and taken by force. That was exactly what the legions ultimately had in mind.
Sanctuara de Mayor. Ignis Potens.
The unholy dagger forged, the legions of the damned awaited the augury which would reveal to them the receptacle for Bethrezen's damned soul. It was a mystery to all why Bethrezen chose the infant of the Empire's sovereigns as receptacle for his soul. The Empire's heir was to become Bethrezen's instrument for revenge. The Queen had fallen in love with the Demon Lord and would give herself freely. To reach the royal family, the legions of the damned would have to defeat her holy guardians.
Sanctuara de Mayor.
The infant captured, the ceremony to free Bethrezen was at hand, and the infernal rite could begin. Deep in the heart of the mountain clan's stronghold, under tons of rock, forgotten for centuries, the gate to the legions of the damned's realm lay undisturbed. The heretics finally found the secular gate and started the ceremony to free their unholy monarch Bethrezen.
noct exorio.
Deep in the heart of the mountain clan's stronghold, under tons of rock, forgotten for centuries, the gate to the legions of the damned's realm lay undisturbed. The heretics finally found the secular gate and started the ceremony to free their unholy monarch Bethrazan. The fortress secured, the legions of the damned brought the royal infant and performed the unholy ritual to open the entrance to Bethrazan's realm and free their imprisoned sovereign. The ritual released Bethrazan successfully. His arrival brought anarchy and chaos throughout the lands, and the few surviving humans served as slaves to the legions of the damned.